have the chance to become part of something much bigger than yourself.
What do you know about me?
Everything.
And, I try to do as much research as I can before I come in and talk with you guys. And in doing research for interviews for a superhero movie, the go-to question seems to be like, oh, did you read comic books growing up? And 9 times out of 10, I feel, you guys say no.
I didn't know.
Do you think that, because I started thinking, but you guys still end up knocking it out of the park. Do you think that maybe it's better to not have read comic books growing up?
I don't think it matters.
No,
really.
I don't think it does. I think you just have to apply yourself as quickly as possible once you realize that what you're tackling. And as I said, the fact that we were so spoiled with what's in the comic books. There's so much material there to draw from that you just had to sort of get stuck in and sort of get to it immediately. But I don't think it matters one way or the other.
A new species is being born. Help me guide it. Shape it. Lead it.
And this is honestly the first, I don't know if I can call it prequel, but first movie in a while in which they take an earlier look at characters that I think justify seeing an earlier look with especially with Magneto and Professor X. What are some characters that you guys have done that you would like to kind of go back and look at, maybe see what their earlier stories are?
Well, all of them, and I think as an actor you sort of do that. You don't maybe see it on the screen, but you try to do as much backstory, even if you're not. I mean, we were given a lot of backstory in this because there was so much, available to us with the comic books. But when you're playing a character where you don't have that, you sort of create something just so you have it in your own head. So, I mean, to see that put on the screen would be interesting in every role I've played, I think.
I never really thought about it, honestly. It's an interesting question. I mean, I agree with January that you feel like when if you actually do the research on your character, you feel like you already have been back with them because you've lived with them. And I don't really even look backwards at my movies, to tell you the truth. I mean, I just kind of I see them once and then I just keep going forward,
Yeah, that'd be a nice tool to have before you start.
Right, exactly. But that's interesting to think, though. So whenever you guys have a character, there are things about the character that you guys know that we will never know because you kind of have to start building that yourself.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Time for the tour.
You have no idea what I'd give to feel
Normal.
You want society to accept you, but you can't even accept yourself.
Should we have to hide?
Tomorrow, mankind will know that mutants exist. They'll fear us, and that fear will turn to hatred.
Not if we stop a war. Not if we risk our lives doing so. We have it in us to be the better man.
We already are.
And you guys have a great sequence where you start going through and discovering other mutants and start discovering other powers. And I figured I had this rare opportunity. I'm sitting in front of you. Do you sense anything? Like, I'm just...
You have a tail, don't you? He's got a tail. I
don't
knew
know
it. As soon as you walked in here, I figured you had a tail.
We weren't supposed to talk about it. We weren't supposed to bring that up.
Don't be afraid of it, man. It's beautiful.
Use it.
It's one of the most
Embrace it.
beautiful things
Embrace
about
it.
you, mutant and pride.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States.
They're just kids.
No, they were kids.
I think one of the things that I really most love about the movie is the historical context in which it's set, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I think is really cool because I can't remember the last time that a superhero movie has really done that. For you guys, I started thinking there have got to be other historical events that mutants have had a hand in. What other famous events do you think that like mutants were behind that?
The crucifixion of Christ.
The miners' strike.
Pontius Pilate was a mutant. He was like Shaw.
Yeah. Rodrigo. Release Rodrigo. Roderick. That's it.
Ludwig.
Roderick.
I don't know.
I mean, I think what the interesting one about this is, and it's sort of hard to think through. I think you caught us both sort of on the back heel here, but just sort of dealing with the sort of the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis as it's presented in this film. What I think is really interesting is the fact that obviously I wasn't there at the time, I wasn't part of that generation, but my parents were, and that whole sort of frenzy that went with it, and the anxiety that was sort of spread out throughout the world. I mean, far-reaching to Ireland, they had sort of really nothing to do with it. But people thought that the nuclear war was imminent, and what's also to do with that is like there's so much sort of mystery behind what actually happened, why the sort of submarines turned at that sort of crucial moment, what happened behind closed doors, and that's a really sort of fun thing to play with. That perhaps there was other powers at play.
You ready for this?
Let's find out.
The cost of freedom is always high. No one can foresee precisely what course it will take. One path we shall never choose. That is the path of surrender.
So I think one of the reasons that these movies are so universally appealing is the fact that, we all grow up feeling a little bit different. We all feel a little bit on the outside at one point in our lives. Growing up, what was that point for you guys that you felt a little bit different than everybody else?
I always felt a little bit different. I mean, I was always kind of a little bit awkward growing up, but I didn't feel like it was something I was self-conscious about until probably middle school. Mm-hmm. When you get to the point where your age, you're very aware of your aesthetics, I guess, maybe. And especially as a girl, maybe 14 or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Puberty.
I guess I felt like I had a lot of different friends, groups of friends from different sort of walks of life when I was in school. Without going too into it, it was a little complicated, and I sort of felt a little bit like I was one way with one group and one way with another group and one way with another group, and there was a part of me that sort of thought, well, what's my own real identity? I don't really know what it is because it just seems like it's shifting all the time. When I got out of high school and I moved to New York and I became an actor, I kind of said, okay, well, that's my identity, and my identity actually sort of makes sense for the fact that that's the way I was as a kid, and it gave me a sense of community, and was important to me.
Listen to me very carefully, my friend. Killing will not bring you peace. Peace was never an option.
I think as human beings, I think we like seeing aspects of ourselves in other people. That makes us feel, whether you're a mutant and you find it in another mutant, or for me, I'm a big film geek, so whenever I see someone who is as big of a film geek as I am, I like that. It makes me feel better about myself. What are aspects about yourself that you find comfort in finding in other people?
I think the geekish element. I mean, I definitely feel like I'm a nerd, sort of in so many different ways. But I think it's actually through realizing that you actually have an interest and a passion in something, and that you can actually. I mean, I feel like I've been so lucky that I've found a profession where I can really sort of express that. I think that's I definitely feel privileged about that, to actually find something that you would really enjoy and have a passion about, and then to be allowed to sort of have a career out of that.
I think for me it's just people who are open and be able to make the most of your day and kind of like try and have a nice time together, and that's what I kind of respond to. I responded to that in you anyway. Yeah. Darling.
Thanks, darling. Me too.
This is a sweet moment.
It was. It's touching.
It is, yeah.
I'm enjoying
Nearly as powerful as the film.
Nearly as powerful as this interview.
Nearly.
It's
Guys,
nearly as powerful as your tail.
hey, guys, this was an honor. Thank you so much.